This discussion is about active and passive forces. At a very fundamental level, horizontal planes are restive and passive. Vertical planes are stabilizing and somewhat active, somewhat passive. Diagonal planes are dynamic and entirely active. The white spaces within and in between the scene's later forms are anything but passive. The most dynamic area in this image is the large red panel. It would be considered this image's focal point. This painting by Laszlo Moholy-Nagy is a composition of balance between active and passive forces. The highly active red line provides a stabilizing element while at the same time creating a point of tension. The most active area in this painting is the area of broad black paint strokes on the right and the narrower strokes along the bottom. The remaining space is passive and abundant, to the point of nearly balancing out the two contrasting zones. This composition exhibits two active areas, the two areas of color. The red rectangle exerts the strongest energy of the two. The remaining areas of neutralized color are decidedly passive, though the variations of value are perhaps of greater interest than the two isolated hues. The same could be said in this panel opposite the elevators on the 5th floor of the Museum of Modern Art. The most active area is clearly the focal point. This painting by Hokusai poses a clear delineation between active and passive zones, with the negative space under Mount Fuji appearing to be the most passive area. The most active area in this composition is the figure in the center casting his fishing lines. The most active area in a composition is typically considered the focal point. Multiple focal points can be confusing. Multiple focal points that basically possess similar intensities with each other typically cause confusion unless an integrated pattern of intensive areas becomes the end result. And that could be interesting. Little assistance is required to identify the focal point in this advertisement for Kikkoman soy sauce. The contrast of a small area of color against a larger neutralized or less intensive color is enough to call sufficient attention. A larger focal point in this case, or a tighter cropping of the focal point itself, would tend to diminish or trivialize the focal point's dramatic effect. The lighter areas of gray text are subordinate to the darker text, creating a visual hierarchy. And lastly, this Reed Miles designed album cover clearly establishes a visual hierarchy in terms of value and size distribution.